Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, is a regional regulatory and investment regime that's really just posing as a treaty. Now, as of 2014, 12 countries have been participating in the negotiations. There's Canada, the United States, Mexico, Peru, Chile, New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, Brunei, Japan, Singapore, and Vietnam. Now, for over half a century now, power elites have been forming an international empire through these kinds of trade agreements. And through economic agreements binding us together, the power elite are able to subvert culture and local economies before overriding political sovereignty. Now, concrete steps towards the North American Union first started appearing in trade agreements like NAFTA. And then, of course, there's the Security and Prosperity Partnership, and also the FTAA. And in fact, Stephen Harper has really accelerated the pace in which Canada signs onto more of these so-called free trade agreements. From South Korea to the European Union to China and even as far as India. I mean, if we're not already trading with them, Harper has sent someone over there to talk with them. And like most government talks, these trade agreements are more often than not completely closed off to the public. Now, especially an important agreement like TPP is being completely closed off. It's totally secret. Everything that we know about it right now is coming from leaks and just vague official documents. And no one who is in on the negotiations have been saying anything. Now, some of the terms of the TPP were already set out by other countries, so Canada can't change them by joining. Now, there were leaks uncovering Canada's dislike with some of the intellectual property rules, and Canada's also been stalling on the supply management front. But before getting into that, it's important to emphasize that the TPP is not a trade deal. It's not good for Canada or individual residents whatsoever. The TPP is really just a global corporate status takeover. The results of this global bureaucracy would be lower living standards for all and higher prices on things like food and health-related products especially. Now, you can expect more regulations on the internet to the point that it's going to resemble nothing like we have now. And controlling and further centralizing telecommunication is absolutely key to this whole TPP scheme. In fact, perhaps it might be one of the most dangerous components of this deal. And with the TPP, we can really look forward to more global control over national governments. And even though the TPP is secret, we can safely assume that, like its tamer version, NAFTA, the TPP is probably going to have provisions in there where corporations can sue governments and appeal to an international tribunal that overrides domestic or constitutional laws, just like we have in NAFTA under Chapter 11. Now, TTT basically just centralizes and uniforms all of these rules and regulations to this global bureaucracy. And it's only really gotten this far because it's secret, but at the same time, the implementation hasn't been 100% successful because of its secrecy. Now, there are activists who are pushing back against this. I think people know that there is something very, very wrong with a super secretive agreement like the TPP. Now, recently, and a little surprisingly, it's been the agricultural supply management lobby in Canada that's really keeping the Harper government from pressing the gas on this. Now, earlier this month, a coalition of business groups, you have the head of the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, they penned an open letter to Prime Minister. And in this letter, they urged Harper to take a leadership role and to get Canada into the TPP. Now, it's not like Harper doesn't want to. It's just the power of domestic lobbies. And perhaps this letter was aimed to counter that opposition. But regardless, Harper is caught between international interests pressuring him to dismantle the price and production controls on Canadian dairy and chicken and eggs. But farmers who have benefited enormously from this system are a powerful lobby, which is leaving Harper in a bit of a stalemate. So the letter says, the TPP is the biggest game on the planet in terms of trade negotiations. New international business opportunities are at stake for Canadian exporters, as in the integrity of the North American supply chains upon which much of our economy is based. Did you guys catch that fear-mongering there? The integrity of the North American supply chains rests on approving the TPP. As if our poor little fledgling economy would explode or just completely disintegrate if it weren't for these global regulations and corporate bureaucracies eating up every resource on the planet and then supplying us with just debt-based fiat money. Now, some speculate that an agreement on TPP could potentially only be a few months away. Nobody really expects the Canadian supply management lobbies to out-pressure the international corporate state complex. Canadian dairy farmers are soon going to have to compete on the world markets, which wouldn't be such a bad thing if it wasn't under this economically fascist regime. Now, this decision over supply management is really proving to be the deal breaker for Canada. Now, according to a U.S. government chief agricultural negotiator, Canada's participation in the TPP is at risk because we have declined to seriously engage about reforming the dairy and poultry and egg industries. And in the meantime, Obama is attempting to centralize more power with the fast-track trade promotion authority that limits Congress's power to amend or filibuster any trade agreements. Now, there's experts who are predicting that the Canadian authorities are going to just continue dragging their feet while the American Congress decides whether they're going to give Obama TPA authority or not, allowing more of these kinds of agreements to come to fruition. And as for Canada, well, there's no way Stephen Harper is going to pull out of the TPP over supply management. And if he's hesitant, it's probably because it's an election year. But regardless of who wins this fall, once this post-election honeymoon is over, if there even is one, the result is going to be scrapping the supply management controls for the world crony capitalist market, regulated as per the TPP, of course. I mean, there's really no way a powerful Canadian lobby is going to stop the architects of the New World Order, but it really is interesting to watch. And while, yes, I'd love to pay less for milk and not have government bureaucracies just destroy excess production and regulate physical cows and chickens, I also love the idea of seeing something like the TPP get completely stopped dead in its tracks. So that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention today, folks. Check out our documentary film, United We Fall, if you haven't already, where we detail a documented history of these various trade agreements, starting as far back as the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, leading all the way up to the FTA, the NAFTA, the SPP, the Free Trade Agreements, all of these, and we show how they're building towards this concept of a North American Union. So I'll put a link for that in the description. And that's all for today, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in once again. Please check the links in the description where you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more video reports coming very soon right here at pressfortruth.ca.